Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to session 2 of our course. From here we actually start the subject matter. When you learn a language or when you teach a language, what it is that you learn or teach? You learn and teach basically three things: letters, words and sentences. And that is precisely what we will do in this course, starting with letters. And this is one point where I would like to put a lot of stress, because people quite often do not write the script in the correct way in which it should be written. When you write English, it is important that you write cursive with the proper style of the letters, and you write the letters connected, that is in this manner. And when you write connected, then it is important that the letters do not infringe on each other's land, in such a manner that after you have written your text, it should be possible to run parallel lines in such a manner that all the letters become separated by those parallel lines. The letters do not trespass into each other's territory. So this is something which is very important to practice and to instruct children do it thoroughly. And whenever you write with your hand, not at the keyboard, then it is important that you follow this practice, because otherwise your written text will be ugly, it will not be possible to easily read them, and you will not be able to write fast enough if you write block letters like in printing. And it will be a good idea to practice these words and this text once thoroughly as it is given here, if you already do not have a proper habit of writing in cursive writing. And through the course, during all the written activities that you do in your rough work, which you do with hand, you try to ensure that you follow through this discipline of writing cursive, so that by the end of the course you develop a habit of writing in this manner only. And with this we should proceed to our study of words and sentences. But before that, I would like to introduce two techniques, one in this session and one in the next session, which we will follow through the course more or less regularly. One is interpretation, which we will cover today, and the other is expression, which we will cover in the next session. So in this interpretation technique, what we do is we try to develop a systematic methodology to read English text and understand it, interpret it. And in principle, interpretation should mean that you read the text and you understand. But how do you know? How do we know that you have understood it completely? And for that, we use the advantage of proficiency in the common local language. And when we say that we interpret a text, we mean that you interpret it completely in another language in which you are quite proficient, which is quite established. And so interpretation technique will cover the translation of English text into the common local language, which we are taking as Hindi in this execution. So I will explain the process through this illustration. Suppose this passage we want to interpret, we want to understand. So we will take it sentence by sentence, So, say this is the first sentence. When we take this first sentence, so what we will do is that we break this sentence into several parts. These are the parts. The full sentence is people were dying in famine in the city of Shravasti. So, first part in this sentence is people, second is were dying, then in famine, then in the city of Shravasti. These are individual tangible parts of the sentence which we can separately try to understand, separately try to interpret, or separately try to convert it to Hindi. And as we do that, we get people, log, were dying, मर रहे थे, in famine, अकाल में, in the city of Shravasti, Shravasti Nagar में. And now, in order to construct the Hindi text out of this, we need to follow through the syntax rules of Hindi. So, then in order to do that, we number this in the Hindi order. And then by numbering it as 1, 2, 3, 4, we will construct the sentence as Shravasti Nagar में लोग अकाल में मर रहे थे. And that way, we quickly can develop this sentence without any fault. Okay? Suppose next sentence is this. Here again, as we break it into parts, we get these as the three parts. Convert each of the parts into Hindi and then order that in Hindi order, and then you get this. Okay? Next sentence in the passage is who will take the task of feeding the hungry. Okay, Shashank, how will you break it into parts? Can you make the sentence into different parts?
Who will take the task of feeding the hungry?
First part?
Who
Correct. Second?
will take?
Correct. Then the third is the task, and the fourth is of feeding the hungry. Right? Reshon, can you tell us the meaning of who?
Gone.
कौन? Will take.
लेगा.
लेगा. Fine है? Fine. The task?
कार्य.
काम. ठीक है. कार्य. Of feeding the hungry.
भूखे को खिलाने का.
भूखों को, hungry को, hungry. भूखों को खिलाने का. कौन लेगा काम भूखों को खिलाने का. Now we connect them in the appropriate Hindi order. Okay? So we put different numbers under this. Okay? भूखों को खिलाने का काम कौन लेगा. Okay? So we get this. Right? Next, we take the next sentence. So what will be the first part? Ratnakar said. Second part? Lowered. And third part? His head. Fine. So then we transfer each of them to Hindi one by one. Ratnakar said, झुका लिया सर. Step by step into Hindi. You do not lose anything. Okay. So in this entire exercise, though we are calling it interpretation, but we are actually doing translation. The idea is that in order to interpret and show that we have interpreted correctly, what we are trying to do is that we are transferring it into a language in which the text has got completely converted, and the understanding behind it is that if we have converted the text completely to Hindi, that means we have interpreted it correctly. Okay. So, the proof of the interpretation, complete interpretation, is that we have converted into Hindi completely without losing any information of the original text. Okay. And it will help you when you try to read something which is complicated. If the sentence is too long, too large, too complicated, a lot of things hanging from this side and that side, and in one shot you cannot see the full meaning, then if you try to break the different parts and then try to assemble the meanings of different parts into the sentence that you are constructing in Hindi, and when you succeed in doing that and account for all the bits and pieces of the original sentence in your new Hindi sentence, then you know that you have understood the complete meaning of the original sentence. So, that is the idea behind this interpretation exercise. But so much of grains I do not have. Okay. So, we split it into parts, and then how do you convert these different parts into Hindi? But lekin so much of grains, itna sara anaj I do not have.
मेरे पास नहीं है.
That's it. लेकिन इतना सारा अनाज मेरे पास नहीं है. इसको बिल्कुल ऐसे ही कर सकते हैं, इसमें आगे पीछे करने की जरूरत नहीं है. राइट. So 1 2 3 direct. Okay. So this way you can systematically ensure that you have understood the complete message of the text without losing any information. Okay. So this interpretation exercise perhaps was not very necessary to interpret such a simple text, but we are taking a simple text as illustration in order to ensure that we understand what is the method, so that we take this method and continue applying the method on other texts which are perhaps more complicated. And when you break into pieces, you first of all try to break the sentence into different pieces, different parts according to the sentence structure, and try to identify individual parts, individual pieces in such a manner which are themselves things which you can think of separately. Okay. And then each of them individually you can translate into Hindi. You can understand that this is this, and so on, and then you try to assemble the resulting pieces in the other language. When you have assembled correctly, that means you have completely interpreted the original sentence. In that it may be so that some of the words are missing. Then you know that when we convert this particular word into Hindi, then where that thing will go and fit. Something which is, whether that is an action or a thing. If it is a thing, then whether it is a thing to eat or to play with or to see, those are the things which will come up in this finding the meaning of each and every part. Okay. So meaning of sentences is one thing which you will need on the way, but apart from that, sometimes even without knowing the meaning of some words, the way it comes in the sentence structure, you can make these parts, and then you know what is the word for which you have to find out the meaning. Okay. So any questions on this? Yes.
How to break a sentence?
Yes, this is what I was just now trying to tell. When you try to break a sentence, you need to identify individual parts which in themselves mean something. Okay. For example, when we took this passage and say this sentence, we broke it as people were dying in famine in the city of Shravasti. It doesn't make sense to break it as famine in the city as one part, okay, and then of Shravasti another part, because that is something which makes wrong connections between two parts. Here we have taken will take together. Okay. Will alone will not make much sense. Only when the other word take comes, then will take together makes a sense. So will take together. The alone will not make any sense. And then again, you cannot. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to break a part and say we will consider take the as a part. Okay, that will not make sense. So we will break it into parts in such a manner that each part in itself can be interpreted, has a meaning. It is not a full sentence, it is a part of a sentence, but that has a part, that has a meaning. So we will take lega, we will see dekhega, we will eat khayega, which we can directly understand individually. Similarly, the task, काम, so which you can understand directly. So individual pieces should be understandable in itself and then individually translated. So that is how you need to break the parts.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why it is important to write cursive?
Oh, there are several reasons. Two important reasons are that one, if you write cursive, then you can write reasonably fast, because otherwise every letter you will be writing separately. Okay. So when you write cursive, then you continuously write, and so you write at a good speed. And the second thing is that English letters, the letters of the Roman script in printed form have a lot of straight lines. Okay. And when you try to make straight lines with your hand, then most of the time they are not really straight. Particularly when you try to write fast, they don't remain straight. For example, again, many of the lines are vertical. Okay. So first of all, the line will not remain straight, and second, it will not remain vertical. So when you write fast, when you write pelt, P-E-L-T, okay, so L is vertical, T again has another vertical line. Now if L goes this way and T goes this way, it will look ugly, right? On the other hand, when you write cursive, you have a lot of freedom. You write in curves, you do not write in straight lines. Okay. So in curves, you can manage a lot without it looking ugly. For example, I will show you this sentence, this word that I am writing, pelt. Okay. So if I write in, maybe this doesn't look so bad, but if I am writing fast, okay, then it will look ugly. On the other hand, when I am writing cursive, then all of them are curved. Not only that, all of them are slant a little bit. And then it will not be a problem even if this is inclined at 30 degree and this is inclined at 28 degree. It will not matter much. It will still look nice. Okay. So therefore, when you write cursive, you write in curves, and therefore slight adjustments of your hand will not show up as ugly strokes. On the other hand, when you write this way, then this not being straight will cause some ugliness. This and this being inclined differently, one inclined left, another inclined right, will look bad. Okay. And of course, the overriding reason is that if you write separately like this, then it will take a lot of time for you to write anything. Okay. So when you write a large word, okay, then say a word having 12 words, 12 letters. Okay. So 12 times you have to put down your hand and you have to take away your hand, right? So that causes a lot of loss of time. On the other hand, in cursive you can continuously write it. What we are doing here is a typical strategy called divide and conquer. Okay. So if you have a very strong enemy having 7 people in that, then the correct way or the more efficient way to win is to divide them, make them into different parts, and then individually fight with one person at a time. Okay. Any other question?
Yes, sir. How do we differentiate between capital J?
Capital J. We in my slide I have shown 2 different forms of J. First is that whichever one of the J versions you write is actually all right. Besides, I do not put a lot of emphasis on cursive writing so far as the capital letters are concerned. Small letters are very important to write in cursive, otherwise you lose a lot of efficiency while writing. Okay. Capital letters are not that crucial, because first of all capital letters appear very rarely, and even when they appear you need to join them only from one side and not from the other. Okay. Because capital letters will never come in the middle of a word. So capital letters, even if you write the block letter, it's not a great issue. Okay. Yes.
So while writing cursive, the word T,
Yes.
it sometimes look like I when of many people like it like I. Many people like block letters T. Then they write cursive. It is
Capital T you are talking about.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
then it is right to write up by.
Yeah. What you are telling is that when you want to say this is Ram, then whether you should start it like this or whether you should start it like this.
Which way is better?
I always do this. Okay. But if you are my student and if you do this, then perhaps I will not be extremely strict with you. But it would look nice if you do this, because this is the correct style. On the other hand, if you are my student in my class and if you are writing like this, then I am not going to accept it. Okay? Yes.
If we have developed such level of translation, then why it is important to translate a sentence into Hindi?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I think what he's trying to say, there is a long-standing debate whether translation is or is not the medium to acquire a language.
Is that the question, whether learning a language through translation is a good idea or not? See, there are two things to make note of here. One is that we should not fall a victim to the disease of translation. Okay. So it should not happen that whatever we try to read, we have to translate mentally. That is not a good idea. When you read English, you should understand directly. And when you speak English, you should construct your speech directly into English. This is the mature way to do it. Yet there is a lot of utility in the weapon of translation. So at a stage in learning, it helps to understand the text through translation. At a stage in expression, it helps to first have the clarity of your thought, whatever you want to write. If you think once in your own language, then you know the thought completely, and then you try to translate it into English. Or when you read something, after mentally translating it into Hindi or whatever is your language, you know that you have understood it completely. And when you reach the maturity that you directly and continuously read through English text and understand directly, then there is no need. Now, we are using the medium of translation in order to teach, learn and understand things better, because understanding through translation is certainly better than not understanding at all. That is one thing. Second, through the translation, it will be clear between you and me that whatever text I asked you to read through, you have actually understood it, because its meaning you have told me. Okay. And the last point in the discussion on interpretation through translation is that we are focusing on those learners for whom there is already a good proficiency in one language. Okay. And we are talking about English as an acquired language, as an additional language, a second language, not the mother tongue. Mother tongue is something which you learn directly. Okay. In the learning of any other language, to learn it fast within a reasonable time, it helps to interpret things in your own language in which your thought process is already quite mature. and you have already started thinking and expressing much more complex thought. Okay, I think we have a little round of tutorial in which I will call some of the children in our audience who will do a little exercise in this interpretation technique, and this is also an illustration to those participants in our program who are school teachers and who would like to know how they can conduct this exercise in their class. So, the story which we were interpreting earlier, we will continue with that story, and this first page we covered, and now we go to the second page. Okay. Shashank, see, we do not take the simple sentences, we start from the third sentence. Write on the board, the famine has dried up, my good farm. My good farm. Okay. So, now break it into parts. What will be the first part? Only the famine, yes. And then second part? Has dried up. Fine. Okay. So, now convert the first part into Hindi, the famine. And now the second part. सुखा दिया है. Okay. Third part. फार्म का मतलब खेत. मेरे अच्छे खेत को, ये लो, मेरे अच्छे खेत को, अच्छे कर दो उसको. ओके. Now in this Hindi parts, how will you put 1, 2, 3? Really? In Hindi sentence structure? Correct. Fine. So you will make it अकाल में मेरे अच्छे खेत को, मेरे कर दो, मेरे अच्छे खेत को सुखा दिया है. Right? Okay. And now we take the last sentence. Akshat, you verbally tell the class the different parts. फिर धीरे धीरे
अनाथ पिंडर की बेटी
got up.
उठी आंसुओं के साथ.
हाँ, ठीक है, टुकड़े हो गए. अब ये टुकड़ों को हिंदी में सजा देना है. फिर धीरे धीरे
अनाथ पिंडर की बेटी आंसुओं के साथ उठी।
सही, एक शब्द तुम्हारा मिस हो गया है, मॉन्क गया है ना, सो भिक्षु अनाथ पिंडद, ठीक है, इसको मिटा दो। सो you follow through the steps. Here all the steps we have put together. Then slowly, as I told you, that this could have been two different parts also, or they could be put together. फिर धीरे धीरे भिक्षु अनाथ पिंडद की बेटी उठ खड़ी हुई आंसुओं के साथ। इन द करेक्ट ऑर्डर यू गेट इट। फिर धीरे धीरे भिक्षु अनाथ पिंडद की बेटी आंसुओं के साथ उठ खड़ी हुई। जब हर टुकड़े को आपने ठीक से ट्रांसलेट किया है तो इससे जो है अंत में श्योर होगा कि आपने कोई चीज़ मिस नहीं किया है, राइट? ओके, थैंक यू।